Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name is Carrie, for those of you who don't know me. Today, I've got some new adult recommendations for you. Alright, so since this is the first new adult romance recommendation video I'm doing, I'm gonna start with some oldies but some goodies, ones that everybody has heard about, I'm sure, but like, can I not have these on my channel for the first recommendation video for this? I don't think so. So, I'm going to start with Beautiful Disaster by Jamie McGuire. We are talking Travis and Abby. We are talking like one of the OG, like asshole, jerk, bad boy, super hot as fuck romances. So, Travis is an MMA fighter and he is in the ring, and after he gets done knocking somebody out, he's like the best of the best, this underground in a college setting, and he is finished with his round and he looks over and he happens to see this girl who's dressed in a cardigan and is kind of old school and not like the other girls, you know, that type. And he instantly gives her the nickname of Pigeon, and it's just freaking adorable. The writing just draws you in, like from page one, paragraph one, you are just sucked into this story. It is so good. I freaking love it. It is not for everybody. There is a little bit of emotional and, well, there's just a little bit of cheating going on. And like I said, Travis is a bad boy. He is definitely not for everybody. He's a little possessive, a little what we would call abusive if he was real, but since he's in a fictional character, it just comes off as like alpha and growly and bad boy. Like, yeah, he's hot. And speaking of possessive and bad boy, After by Anna Todd, Hardin and Tessa. Once again, this is just like ridiculous, steamy, really, really bad relationship that is incredibly abusive, and like they needed to leave after like the second time that they went around, but they keep going around and around, and it is just book crack. It is not the best written thing out there, but it's book crack. You open it up and it's like a train wreck that you cannot look away from. It's just really freaking good. If you haven't read it, where are you at? Like, you need to be reading this book. You should have already read it. It is so good. The next book on my list is something that most people have probably heard of, and that's, of course, Penelope Douglas, Punk 57. This is set in high school. It is very steamy. It is about a guy and a girl who are pen pals from a young age. They both have names that are more unique. One of them is named Misha, and that is our boy, and then our girl is Ryan. And so the teachers got them confused. They thought they were supposed to be the same sex, and they ended up not being. But they were pen pals for a very, very long time, and they never saw each other's faces. They know they live close by, but they just want to keep it secret, and they have this really close friendship. And one day Ryan is at a party, and Misha happens to see her, and he finds out exactly who she is, and that the pen pal girl that he thought he knew was not who this person turned out to be. She was living kind of a double life from what she was writing to who she actually was in real life. And it is a hate to love relationship, and it is just really, really freaking good. The next book I have to talk about is Top Secret. This is by Serena Bowen and Elle Kennedy. This is a MMF romance? MM romance? It's complicated, but basically it is set in college, and there is a guy who is kind of just out as being bisexual, but he doesn't like shout it out loud to everybody. He lives in a fraternity with a whole bunch of other guys, and there's a guy who he really specifically dislikes, and he gets on an app, and the other guy who's there is a straight guy who has a girlfriend, and his girlfriend is wanting to have a threesome for her birthday, and he's like, all right, I'm all for it. And he is kind of questioning his sexuality, not really at the beginning. He's just like, yeah, I'm down for a threesome. And he was fine with it being a guy, and he gets on this app and they start talking, and they don't really recognize that it's each other because there's like no faces. Ugh. Anyway, long story short, this turns into a male-male romance. It is really freaking adorable. It's a little hate to love, a little smutty and cheesy and just perfection. Speaking of Elle Kennedy, we've got The Deal. I mean, how could we not do a new adult romance and not have The Deal on here? Like, that's just not possible. So The Deal is a campus romance. It is about a girl named Hannah who is kind of a good girl. And then we've got Garrett, who is the playboy, and he is a hockey star, and they do this little fake dating relationship thing, and it is really cute. She ends up tutoring him, I believe, and she is dealing with some stuff in her past that's a little hard, and it turns out to be a really, really sweet romance. Really enjoyed this one. The next book I have to talk about is also going to be a series set around college. That is The Hardest Fall by Ella Mays. This is a slow burn, new adult romance that is just utterly cute. It's about a girl who goes to a party her freshman year at college. She meets a guy, and her friends basically dare her to go up to this guy and kiss him. And she doesn't realize it, but he's kind of like the big man on campus quarterback. And so she goes up and she basically asks him if she can kiss him. And they have this encounter where he's like, oh, well, sorry, I kind of have a girlfriend. And so they walk out, and he ends up running after her, and yeah, there's a whole thing. But they don't see each other for like a year. And then they happen to run to each other on the street, and it was another chance encounter. But this time the girl is taken, and the guy's asking for the girl's number, and then they just walk off and separate, and they don't see each other for like another year. And it's finally their third encounter. It's the last year that they can see each other. They're seniors, and they run into each other. They end up having some struggles along the way, and things that get to the point where it kind of causes a little bit of conflict, but it is just really, really sweet. It is slow burn, and it's adorable, and just, yeah, go out and read it. The next book on my list is Rule by Jay Cranover. Don't let the cheesy cover fool you. I'm sorry, these covers are awful, but the books are not. And this is about Rule and Shaw. So Shaw is a good girl, and she is friends with Rule. She was best friends, and he thought that she was in love with his twin brother, and his twin brother died, and he is this playboy, and it's been a couple of years since his brother died, or a year. It's been a year since his brother died, and Shaw is coming around, kicking his ass out of bed every single Sunday, getting him to his parents' house, kicking girls out of his bed. Like, she is playing this role of best friend and caretaker almost to him since his brother died. And they have this kind of hate to love relationship, and it is really, really sweet. Of course, there's some things like miscommunication. Rule is a bad boy that you are just so frustrated with, but yet you love, and he's a tattoo artist. I mean, just what's not to love about this book? The next recommendation I have to talk about should be absolutely no shocker to you. It is a book that I talk about all the time. It is Thoughtless by S.C. Stevens. This book is old. It is so good. It is so, so good. It was written in like, I don't know, 2000, and it was written back in 2009. So 11 years. This book is about Kellen and Kiera and Denny. So Kiera is in college, and she has this boyfriend. They met at school, and he has just graduated. She is in her senior year, or junior year, something like that, but she's going and moving across the country to Seattle because he got a job there, and she's in love with him, so she's going to follow him there. So they move in together with Denny's old roommate slash best friend, Kellen. And a lot ensues. Kellen is a rock star, up and coming. Like, he is real popular in the local scene and will eventually become super famous. And so Kiera ends up moving in with this guy, and it's like love at first sight. He is the most beautiful man she's ever seen. It just like takes over her, and Denny ends up doing some shitty things and leaving her for long periods of time alone with Kellen, and they form this bond, and it is just so dang beautiful. Kiera will frustrate you to no end. Like, you will hate her. Like, you will utterly, like, this book will make you slam the book in frustration. It will piss you off to no end. You will hate Kiera by the end of this book. But there's 3 books in the series, and by the end of the 3rd book, you just truly see how much she's grown and who she is as a character. Like, you will utterly hate her by the end of this 1st book, but you will start to love her by the 2nd and the 3rd books. Like, by the end of the 3rd book, I fell in love with her. I fell in love with him. Kellen is the ultimate book boyfriend I could ever ask for, but I won't lie, this book is super frustrating. The next book on my list is one of my favorite books of last year. This is Burnout by Coralie June. This is a best friend's older brother romance. It is a student-teacher romance, and it is just so darn good. If you're anything like me, you will end up reading this book just ridiculously fast. I really enjoyed this one, and I highly recommend it. The next book we have is Contextual by Tegan Hunter. This is really unique because it is about a girl who meets a guy because he ends up sending her a text message, and it was completely to the wrong person, but she thinks that she is texting her brother and that he just has a new number. And so they end up having a lot of miscommunications because they each think they're talking to somebody else. And they're having this full-on conversation, and it's like to two completely different people. And so it's a really unique concept, and they end up just continuing to talk to each other, and it just builds into a relationship, and it's just ridiculously cute. The next book I have to recommend is going to be IOU. This is by Christy Marie. It is free on Kindle Unlimited, and I just cannot recommend this book enough. It is about a girl who is a bit crazy. She's going to college. She moved across the country with her boyfriend, going to her boyfriend's chosen school, and so she is working at a diner with her boyfriend and her roommate. Her and her roommate are kind of close, and so she gets off work one night early and she goes up to her apartment and she finds her best friend and her boyfriend sleeping together. She goes a little bit crazy and ends up setting the apartment on fire, so she's kind of like labeled as like batshit that second, and she ends up having trouble finding another place to stay. And so she goes to this guy who's known as Maverick. He is kind of a guy that everybody goes to for IOUs. And they build this relationship because he ends up letting her stay at his place. And it is just so cute. I highly recommend this one. It's a little cheesy and just over the top and so hot. The next book I have to talk about is going to be Mercy by Deborah Anastasia. This book is completely different. Both characters are in their very early 20s. This guy Mercy that's his street name. He is the kind of the ultimate bad boy. So he is a skeleton, like head to toe. His body is tattooed as a skeleton. And he has been obsessed with this girl Becca from a very, very young age. In fact, she saved his life and she has no clue. Like when she was like 9 years old, she saved his life at a grocery store. And he has been obsessed with her and following her ever since. And he's kind of protecting her, but only behind the scenes. Like I said, he's a full-on skeleton. He thinks there's no way that she would ever fall for him. And something happens and he ends up having to protect her. She's working at a bar. It's Halloween time, and so they have this costume party. It's kind of the perfect way for him to introduce himself to her, and they build up this relationship. It is so different. I wouldn't say it's dark. It's kind of dark, but it's not like terrible. But it is just so good, and it's funny at parts, and it's just 5 stars. I love this book. All right, that's it. That's all the book recommendations that I have for you today. Let me know what new adult romance you're just obsessed with in the comments below.